Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Brighton podcast brought to you by Global Sports Podcasting Network. Today we are going to preview the game against Ipswich on Saturday. I am joined by Jamie Guerra. Jamie, football's back. The international break is gone. How excited were you about the game?
How excited was I? Very. How excited I ended up being. Very disappointed. That was not how I wanted to celebrate football being back and I was playing Ipswich. I'm not going to lie.
We're going to get into all of the action that happened at the weekend, the 0-0 draw.
What action?
No, there was a few bits we can talk about. We've got some stuff to talk about. So today we've got for you a brief overview. We're also going to just dive in on the performance and then also talk about Europe next season, which is a brave topic despite the result.
Yeah, we'll be looking at if we can still get Europe after that performance. All I've got to say about that performance on Saturday was it was a game of half chances and just shots at goal, but without any feeling that it was actually going to lead to a goal or any real excitement around the stadium either. I wouldn't say it was a snore draw because we were on top. So there were bits for us to kind of celebrate and get excited about. But yeah, I think the feeling around the fans and us lot watching it was very much points dropped.
Yeah, and it's a tough one to take, especially with 70% possession. Did Brighton just lack that killer instinct? Was it Jal Pedro missing?
Ooh, yeah, that's a great question. I was thinking about that. Obviously, when he didn't play because he had a little niggle, and I think I wouldn't even say it was Jal Pedro missing because we were on top of them basically throughout the game. I thought Ruta filled in for him pretty well as well. But when you do think of the chances that we actually created, there were few and far between. And that is where Jal Pedro potentially playing would have been a difference maker. So I wouldn't say he was missed. Like, if we had him, we would have been so much better. But I think we could have potentially scored or had much better chances anyway of scoring.
Yeah, and in our previous podcast, I was talking to Joe and Richard, and we were obviously excited to see the new players, and we spoke a little bit about perhaps some of the new players starting, maybe changing the system. And I called it from the start, and I said, do you know what? We've had a break, an international break, probably at the wrong time for us because we were flying. Everyone was sort of buzzing with what's going on around the football club. And then the breaks happened, and we've had to come back again. I feel like form does get impacted by the break. So It was good to see that he tried to stay with, the same lineup as we've been going with as much as possible. Obviously, Jal Pedro being out.
Yeah, and I think also there were still some injuries that we have in the squad. So then we had to play Baliba and Ayari, who, by the way, shout out to Baliba. Absolutely class game he had. And Ayari as well. He was picking up pockets. This is why I was saying I don't feel Jal Pedro was missed. Maybe the quality of the person picking up the ball in those pockets. But Ayari was picking up the ball high up, was winning fouls, was playing it to the wingers, making basically the right decisions. I thought he had a very good game, but it is where you'd like to see potentially someone with a bit more quality. But because we dominated the ball, we basically lived by their box. The tractor boys well and truly parked a couple of tractors in front of their goal line, and they were just blocking every shot that we had or getting in the way of potential shots that we were going to have. So that was the most annoying thing, I guess. It was more of an annoying watch.
Yeah, Ayari is growing on me. To be fair, at first I wasn't sure, but I think some really good performances coming through. In terms of Ipswich, how did you think they set up? Like, do you think they're happy with the point?
Oh, they are buzzing with a point. I'll tell you that. They went there, I think, for a point, and credit to them. I've got to say, I'm not a Ipswich hater. I thought they played defensively very, very well. Like they were in the way of everything. Like I said, they were blocking basically most shots that we had. There was one block. I think Ruta had it in the box, dropped to him like a straight first time volley, and Jacob Greaves out of nowhere just gets in the way of it, and you're like, oh right, that's the kind of game it's going to be, is it? So they defensively were very solid. I think they did go there for a point and then to play on the counter attack. They achieved exactly what they set out to do because, unfortunately for us, the only chance that they created was, and the heart in the mouth moment for us was when Liam Delap suddenly became Usain Bolt and sprinted 80 meters up the pitch. Van Hecker was like caught off guard by his pace. It looked like he was like, "Oh my god, Jesus! I'm in an actual foot race here." And then he hit the post. So that was a very good chance for them. But that's basically all they did.
Yeah, definitely an interesting race that was when I was watching it. Heart in mouth moment. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought my heart was about to be broken.
Yeah, the worst thing is, after all our domination, if we were to concede because of that, I would have been like, and I think every fan around us would have been like, "Oh my god, how have we actually lost to this team?" After 21 shots on goal, 6 on target, 9 corners, every stat was in our favour, and like you said, 70% possession. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, we're going to take a short break and you're going to hear from our partners at Zencastr. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the performance, perhaps not the result. Welcome back to the Daily Brighton podcast. We're now going to talk about the performance, less of the result now, I think. Let's just break it down. So, Hertz's comments after the game, Jamie said he's satisfied with that performance. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's saying it for the team morale. So he doesn't want to come out and go, "We should have won," and like start crapping on all our players and saying that was a bad performance from us. And I can see where he's coming from in terms of saying he was satisfied with the performance, because the performance wasn't too bad if you just like look at the stats potentially, or if you just look at where we had the ball and the number of chances we kind of created, or the shots that we had on goal. So you can see where he's coming from. It wasn't a bad performance from us. It was just bad finishing, or not having that, like we mentioned earlier, the killer instinct in the final third to put the game away, or be able to create the chances. I mean, I think we create the only big chance that we created was the Mitoma, basically like 4 yards out, and that came from Minter playing the ball through to Ruta, him cutting in, fake shotting, then going far post. Good save by Muric, and then the rebound has to go in. And if that goes in, that was at like the 35th minute. If that goes in, then it's a different ball game. Then they have to start attacking us. Then potentially we can start playing on the counter, using our pace to an advantage. But I can see where he's come from. It wasn't a bad performance. It was just bad in the final third. We kept the ball great. I don't know. What do you think about his comments?
Yeah, I think it's a common thing we're seeing with Premier League managers when their teams like played really well but haven't got the win. They'll come out and just say, "Yeah, I was happy with the performance," and
Yeah.
I wonder if that's based on just the numbers around the performance. Obviously, we've touched on them already: 70% possession and XG 1.7, somewhere around there. So I feel like they look at it from like a numerical perspective of how they dominated, not necessarily whether they scored or not, and then that determines what a good performance is.
Yeah.
And I'm the same as you. I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree if that's a way forward, but I guess it's a way of looking at the game as a whole. But like you said, some outstanding save from Muric, was it a double save or a triple save?
Yeah, a double save, yeah. And I think the third one was Mitoma just putting it wide. But like you say, the manager's coming out and saying, "Yeah, I'm really happy with my boys." That's such a Thomas Frank and Pep Guardiola influence, I swear. Pep Guardiola will come down, be down at 1-0 and go, "I am so proud of my boys. So proud of my boys." It's like, mate, you've just lost. What? How? He doesn't lose that often, so maybe he has to say it just to build up morale. But and the other thing I was going to mention is with him saying he was happy with performances, there were passages of play uh, where there was good link-up play, where we built from midfield straight into Belieber mainly, picked up the ball deep, and it was either his driving runs that were taking us up the pitch, or it was good link-up play with Welbeck, and that's what led to kind of chances and us getting to the final third. So that was good passages of play to get there. And then in the final third, where we were most effective, I felt, was Minter and Ruter, their link-up play in terms, and that's where the chance came from, our big chance. That I would have liked to see that be used much more, or us target that right hand side and Leaf Davis much more.
Yeah, no, it was interesting to see Belieber. He reminded me a bit of what the player Casado was like. Just that presence in the middle, breaking things up, and then straight away I was thinking someone's going to try and snatch him soon.
Yeah, you wait till next summer, then he's gone
Yeah,
somehow.
honestly, he's. I've been talking a lot about Minter, and I think Belieber might be the one that just sneaks through this season and just
Mhm.
is the outstanding player for the year.
Yeah, and he's actually got a great opportunity to do so now, especially if Matt O'Reilly's injury is long lasting. I don't know how long Matt Swiffer's out for, but he seems to. It was only meant to be a niggle, and suddenly he's been out for 3 games now. So this is Belieber's time to shine, and he certainly did that on Saturday. He was by far my man of the match. The way and it's so easy to forget that he's 20 years old because he is an absolute unit. He drives with the ball. He is defensively, his work rate was there. His defensive ability just to shrug people off. I mean, the Ipswich midfielders, Morsey and Luongo, when he came on, Calvin Phillips couldn't deal with his driving runs. It was that was the biggest positive to take from that performance.
Yeah, no, it was a very impressive performance, I felt. But Jamie, it's that time of the podcast where we need to talk about that guy. I mean, he didn't score, but just talk us through that free kick.
Oh, the free kick. That's where you jump out your seat. This is how little few and far between chances we created. It was that free kick that got me going, "Oh!" and the whole stadium going, "Oh," because from a certain angle it looks like it's just going in and it just goes wide. But yeah, class free kick over the wall. Two of them were lined up. I was actually thinking, was it Minter was lined up for it as well? I was actually thinking
Yeah.
he was going to take it, and then Welbeck just the other side kind of catches the keeper off guard. But yeah, that was a good chance, and that really says it all about our performance.
Yeah, a whole segment about a Danny Welbeck free kick
Yeah.
is a bit worrying about performance. We also did see Evan Ferguson for a 5-minute cameo. How do you think he got along?
Yeah, this is another one where he had a little snapshot, and that just drifted wide. But I feel like he didn't really have enough time to show his ability. I mean, he did well when he came on of holding it up and then kind of getting those shots away. But in terms of his all round performance, I'm glad to see he's back, put it that way, and that he could actually start coming off the bench or even potentially starting over your guy Danny Welbeck. Maybe.
Oh,
Eventually down the line. We'll see.
I've had a
But
tough weekend, and now you're trying to hurt my feelings.
but to be fair, I mean, I thought Danny Welbeck. This is probably going to be harsh on Evan Ferguson because I thought Danny Welbeck probably did more, but obviously he had much longer, didn't he? He had 85, whereas Evan Ferguson had 5 to really show what he can do. So yeah, no real comments on Evan Ferguson. One person I do have a comment up for, and we need to be on fraud watch because Mitoma got locked up by Axel Twansby, and I don't know what's happened.
Yeah. I mean that was a matchup I was looking at the weekend. I was like, oh, he's gonna cook him.
Yeah.
It's so tough to watch, especially when you're like excited. You're like, yeah, we've got some unreal wingers, and then they get locked up like this. It's tough.
Yeah. It was literally whether he went right or whether he went left, Twansby was there. And you're like, how? It was like, I don't know if you remember, and I don't know whether the listeners at home remember, but you know when Twansby for Man United played against Mbappe and PSG, and everyone was saying, "Oh my God, Twansby, this up and coming guy! What a performance that was!" It was like that. It was like Twansby's second best performance of his career, behind the Mbappe one. That's what it felt like. He had every answer for Mitoma, but Mitoma will be back.
Right, I'm sure our listeners have heard enough about Twansby. So we're going to take a short break where we're going to hear from Global Sports Podcast Network. When we get back, we're going to keep it optimistic. We're going to talk about Europe next season. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the Daily Brighton podcast. We're now going to keep it optimistic, as I said earlier. Jamie, are these the type of games we need to pick up points if Europe is on the cards next season?
The answer is yes, because the teams around us, if you look at potential teams that we will be competing for these European places with, it will be like the likes of Aston Villa, the likes of Newcastle potentially, and then also still some of the big six of Chelsea, if they keep wanting to spend some money, Man United, if they ever decide to get their act together, and Tottenham, if they don't lose to Arsenal, or if they pick up points. These are the kind of games where they'll be coming to these grounds and going, or coming into these fixtures and thinking, we're going to get 3 points here, or we need 3 points here to be in these top 6 or top 7 places. And this is where us dropping points against teams that have been just promoted, that's a dent.
Yeah, it's a weird one because when I looked at it, I was like, Ipswich at home, like that has to be 3 points. Obviously, all due respect to Ipswich, but newly promoted club, it just the way we were going as well, it just had to be 3 points in my opinion. But I keep getting this feeling that whenever it's a big team or a game that's expected for us to lose, we sort of turn up. And then it feels like the games like this, we are going to struggle.
Yeah, and that's a point of optimism like we were talking about. I feel like we are so many teams bogey team. So when we go to their ground, like if we were to go and play Liverpool, I don't go there and think, oh, we're going to get battered here or we have no chance of winning. Still go to those games and think, oh, I'm confident we're going to get a result. Whereas it's these kind of games, and I think this is what we need to work out for our next progression step is when teams, because we've now got this reputation that we are good and we're going to be attacking prowess and teams aren't going to be able to dominate possession against us. We need to now start going to that next step of how do we break down teams that are just going to park the bus or defend well organized, defend as a unit, get bodies in front of the ball, because that's kind of 2 games in a row now. If you look at the Arsenal second half where they played with 10 men, they kind of did the exact same thing Ipswich did in terms of just get men behind the ball and see if Brighton can break us down. And we failed on both occasions, although we did score 1 against Arsenal, but that was early on, and then for the next 35 minutes we struggled to create anything.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think when the game's almost like a basketball game where it's end to end, that's when we look at our best. But whenever it's like a team sitting back, it's tricky to break down. With Jal Pedro injured, and obviously this result, do you reckon our hopes of Europe sort of rest on keeping him fit?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. I think that will be essential. Like he needs to be playing for us to have any chance of getting Europe. Just even because then that allows so many other things to fall. Like if Ruta's having a bad game, then or if Pedro's having a bad game, Ruta then can come on, or they can work in harmony together, or Welbeck can not play potentially, and Ruta can go up top, and Pedro will be there.
I'm hearing about Welbeck not playing. What's this about?
Sorry, I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare cuss out that guy, Danny Welbeck. But it just gives so much more options. We need Pedro, we need Ruta, we need Mitoma to be on form. We need Adingra and Minter because, like what's kind of happened, if one of them's having a bad game, the other one can come on and do something. And we kind of need our depth. And so it's not just Pedro. I think he is the key though for us doing well.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely agree with that. Mitoma's shown flashes this season. It's just whether or not he can keep that up. Simon Dingra came on as well. Do you think he's another one? We just need him to start kicking on from the bench, really, don't we?
Yeah, if he's going to be this super sub role, we need him to do what he did and replicate what he's done in the first two games of getting the goal and the assist and come on and be the bright spark. That is obviously in 15-minute cameos. That's obviously very difficult, or he's been given 5 minutes, if not less than that, to show what he's made of. But I would like to see him. I feel I would like to see him start sooner or later, just because I think he is. I love him. I've got to say.
Who drops out?
I think Minter, but I don't think it was Minter that had a bad game today. Off this performance, off the Ipswich game, Mitoma on the bench, buddy, because you can't be getting locked up by Axel Twansby. So yeah, that I would like to see him start kicking on. And the other thing I want to mention is one thing I would like to see us do today, and I don't know how you feel, Bless, is potentially just give possession to them and then us play on the counter. Just like sit deep, do exactly what they were doing to us. Just try something like that to switch up because we dominated all game. They were just waiting on the counter-attack. And that's where we shine as well. So I feel like we should have put the emphasis on them to do something with the ball or allow them to keep the ball and then play on the counter rather than press high, win the ball high and then play it around and then fail in the final third.
Yeah, I think with the way Hertz sets up, it's more important about having the ball, but I've seen this a few times, they do try and bait the press, and it's normally when a player's you see a centre-back taking a bit too long on the ball, that's him essentially trying to bait a press, trying to get the players to come onto him. Yeah. But I don't think Ipswich were nibbling at that, to be honest. They were happy sitting back.
Yeah, they were content sitting back. I don't even think they would have taken that opportunity. They would have just gone, have it back. And then we'll just carry on doing what we're doing. And we've got decent centre-backs or a decent defence that will just make it more difficult for you. And it's credit to Kieran McKenna, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was the two youngest managers in the Premier League coming together, and they did emphatically show us a spectacle.
Edge of the seat stuff.
Edge of the seat stuff. Right, guys, that is our time up for now. I hope you've enjoyed us talking about a wonderful 0-0 draw, possibly points dropped. I've been Blessings Chabamba. I've been joined by Jamie. This is the GSPN Daily Brighton podcast. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.